Am I the butthole for not letting my parents stay with my kids for long periods of time because of my brother? I, 27F, have a sister, 26 female, and a brother, 15 male, who is autistic. When he was 2, he was diagnosed with autism. From that moment on, he was my parents' absolute priority. While I get it now, 14 years old me did not. It was like I woke up one day and my parents became very different people. Lots of money were spent on various types of therapy, lots of time were dedicated solely to him, lots of special occasions for me and my sister became second thoughts to my parents. They were not terrible parents, but a lot of the things they did before, like having meals with us every night, picking us from school, became our nanny's responsibilities as my parents were focused on my brother. I resented my brother first, and with time my parents. The one positive thing was me and my sister becoming best friends. I left for college when I was 18 and my sister left for the same college the year after. We lived together the whole time. Neither of us really missed home, because who misses feeling like a second thought? We only went home for the holidays. In the summers we did car trips and had a blast. When I was 21 I met my now husband. The three of us, me, sis and him, became super close. After that he joined our summer trips. We got married 2 years later and had twins the following year. The kids are now 3. We stopped the trips after the twins were born, but after their first birthday we decided to go on 3 weeks vacations annually. When they grow up we will make sure to adjust the trips so they can join us. Right after my sister finished college I got a job near our hometown. My sister had no reason to stay where we were, so she moved back with us. My husband's parents live close, just 2 hours away, and my parents and my brother still live in our old house 15 minutes away. For the first 2 trips after the twins were born we left them with my Mill and Phil. They are amazing grandparents. Well, this year it clicked to my parents that my girls were obviously not going with us on the trips. They asked who had watched the twins the first 2 times and I explained that my Mill and Phil had. They asked to keep them this year and I said no, but thanks for the offer, we appreciate it. They wanted to know why my Mill and Phil could have them for long periods of time but they couldn't. I was honest. Said that I do trust them to babysit for short periods, as I know they would never neglect the girls in those few hours. But I don't want them to have them for 3 weeks. They need a lot of attention. And so does my brother. And while I don't think they would do anything on purpose, I'm afraid they will end up too focused on my brother and temporarily forget the twins need their attention as well. They accused me of hating my brother, I don't, and said that I was a horrible sister. They said I was punishing them for caring for my brother and preventing them from bonding with my girls. My sister and husband agree with me, though. But I fear they are just too close to the situation to judge. Am I the butthole? NTA. Your parents did what they thought was best for their children. You get to do what you think is best for your children. Edit. Wow. Thank you for all the awards. I really appreciate how perfectly you worded this. It would take me 8 paragraphs to make the same point you just so concisely made. NTA, and yeah, exactly. Double exactly. Yeah, talk about eloquence. NTA, op. Half the reason I go on this sub is to see the concise, powerful answers in the replies. They always hit so hard, and I'm always impressed. Me too, my favorite so far. No is a complete sentence. Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm has become a permanent part of my phrase book. It joined when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Dude, these people are the reason our kind hasn't gone to waste yet. Same. And I would get banned for being a butthole. Right? Sheer poetry right there. Also, what a nice treat for Mill and Phil and the girls to have that time together since they are so far apart. It's a perfectly reasonable system for more than one reason. NTA. So far? 2 hours? Man, I haven't lived within 5 hours of my family since I graduated college. But there aren't really any jobs near my hometown in my chosen field. Not trying to belittle your point, but 2 hours drive really isn't that far for me. I agree it's awesome that the girls get to see Mill/Phil for these trips and that Mill/Phil are awesome and can care for them. Edit to add, most of the comments on this are how hard it is to travel with small kids. Why can't Mill and Phil come visit the kids instead? That's always been something that annoyed me, that we, the working parents with small kids, we're always expected to visit the grandparents. A 2-hour drive for 2 adults shouldn't be hard. Especially 2 adults who can manage twin toddlers. They should be able to make that drive, right? 15 minutes is an easy "hey, come over for dinner if you'd like, we made your favorite." 2 hours is next Saturday, we are planning X, we have the guest room ready for you. It isn't ridiculously far, but it is far enough that a day trip is annoying, for both aging grandparents and for families with small kids, when you're spending 4 hours total in the car. Every interaction is a plan and has to be worth the drive. As the kids get older, those grandparents will miss out on games or recitals because of distance. It's enough that those grandparents, if they're involved, and it sounds like they are, probably feel like they're missing out. From the post, it's the ops parents that live only 15 minutes away and are complaining about not bonding with the twins. The ones 2 hours away are the in-laws who look after the twins while the parents are on holiday. Which, to be honest, if the grandparents live 15 minutes away and don't bother to visit their grandchildren, but the ill grandparents travel 2 hours with no hesitation, their complaining about bonding is their own damn issue. That's his point. The in-laws live hours away so they don't get the convenience of "are you busy tonight?" The parents can see the kids more often, with less planning, so it's not unreasonable to say the in-laws get these longer, less frequent visits. Another factor is, Op hasn't mentioned how severe the autistic brother is. If he's severe enough that he needs a controlled environment and schedule, or he melts down, or if he's able to be left alone at home. At age 15, a kid who needs constant tending can be getting big, and it's difficult/expensive to find a sitter. This doesn't mean the parents can't take turns visiting their grandkids while one stays at home, but it sounds like they're both super focused on brother and probably too exhausted at the end of the day to think of much beyond their own household. Op, do your parents have a trust or plans for your brother's future care? My in-laws were 2 hours from us for a span. Going to visit them meant giving it at least an entire day, but more realistically the entire weekend. For some, 2 hours is long. Some can't afford to drive that far, or have the ability to do so. My in-laws can't afford the gas to drive the 3 hours to see me and my husband, and their car is almost always broken down. We can't go visit often because we work so much. I don't think 3 hours is far for me typically, because I used to drive for 24 hours to visit my family out of state for holidays, until they moved to where I am now. But 2 hours can be a long distance if you consider circumstances. It's not a competition, mate. I think far depends on where you live. I'm from Germany, a 2-hour drive is far for me. I visited the US last year and let me tell you, the distances between destinations are insane. Talk about perspective, carrot. Yeah, for us non-US folk who live in countries that are tiny compared to the entirety of the US, 2 hours drive is close to a big deal. I mean, my country is as big as 1/4 of Texas and has the population of New York City. You could go from the West End to East End in 3 hours if there's no traffic jam. Agreed. Grew up near Boston, 2 hours wouldn't get you anywhere far. I then moved to Montana for a while. 2 hours is a casual day drive for an activity. It's definitely perspective. A 2-hour drive feels like an eternity to a toddler. For adults, I agree that a 2-hour drive isn't far. I have 2 toddlers, 11 months apart. I would rather peel all my skin off with a rusty nail file than drive further than 45 minutes with them. When I'm by myself, I could drive forever and be fine. Have you known anyone with young twins? Going anywhere is a long ways. Thankfully, mine have always been great in the car, but not everyone is. I have friends with singletons who scream from the moment they get in the car until 10 minutes after they get out. With kids, it can be. It's not the 15 minutes from original post her parents live. My BF's daughter gets to stay at her grandma's 2 hours away as it works around her schedule, so they don't get to just see each other regularly. Older folks aren't generally keen on too much driving themselves either, depending on how old they are. Driving long distances can be risky with their health or eyesight or other faculties, so it's on original post to do the driving. So what seems like an easy day trip for one becomes more of an issue depending on the factors with older folks and little kids. I could literally reach the other side of my country in 3 hours drive. 2 hours still seems quite far to some of us. I would consider that very far, especially if I had twin toddlers. I live in Texas, for me 2 hours is pretty close. Also live in Texas, But since the entirety of my husband's and my own family live within a 45-minute radius, maybe an hour drive tops. Even for me, 2 hours worth of driving is not something I do on a whim, it's a planned scheduled trip. We are lucky that all our family live close, and when I mean close I mean we see each other at the local grocery stores while out and about. 2 hours is nothing for most people in Texas, and I will acknowledge that for sure. I'm the odd one who doesn't like travel, so I make a huge deal out of a 2-hour drive. I live less than a quarter mile from my own parents, and we live less than 10 miles from the in-laws. So for us, I can definitely see 2 hours being far away, even though I know that it isn't really that far. 2 hours drive really isn't that far for me. It's always funny to see that people in different countries think a 2-hour drive is short. I live in the Netherlands, and if my family would live 2 hours away, they would literally live on the other side of the country. 2 hours is really far for me. BTW, not the butthole up. I grew up in Australia with my grandparents in the UK. So 24 hours. By plane, the plus side was, if finding childcare for the school holidays got too hard, my parents would just stick me on a plane to my grandparents for 3 weeks. Grandparents loved it, I loved it. Cheaper than my mother taking 3 weeks unpaid leave or paying for childcare for 3 weeks. Parents got 3 weeks to themselves. I know everyone is jumping on you, but I get what you mean. For me, 2 hours is close enough for easy, regular interactions. I know that's not the case for some people, but it is for me. In instances where they need somebody to watch the kids for an hour or two, who do you think Original Post is calling? The grandparents that live 15 minutes away are the ones that would need to make a 4-hour round-trip drive? Yeah, my kids have always been good car travelers, so that is also a big part of it. I didn't have twins, but at one point I've had 3 kids under 4, and car rides can feel longer. I was thinking 2 hours isn't far for the eels to come visit. Why does the family with small kids have to travel? Puts hands up in surrender. I see I'm in the minority about the distance. Yes, I've had toddlers and have made many multi-hour drives to visit in-laws. It's definitely not easy. But it's also been normal, in my childhood and adult life, to not have extended family Sunday supper, etc. Extended family visits have mainly been holidays and maybe a few extra visits for me, so that's my normal. We are all different. I live 2 hours from the remnants of my family. I haven't seen anyone in 4 years. Glad it's easy for you. Will you be changing the rotational speed of the universe this week? Mill and Phil can visit, but it is still a long day. And I've stopped letting my mom pick us up from the airport when we visit, mostly because her driving over an hour at night is starting to worry me. I think we are getting buried in the weeds, though. It isn't that the distance is a problem, it's just that it changes the type and probably reduces the frequency of interaction. Let's say the grandparents are super dedicated and drive down for every birthday, holiday, soccer match. Yes, I am assuming these kids are too young, I'm just speaking generally. Those interactions will be shared with others who want to spend those holidays and events with the kids, too. Their one-on-one time is going to be more limited than that of the close grandparents who can take the kids while the parents grocery shop in peace or something. You have valid and sensible reasons. Your parents are emotional, but to not have noticed for 2 years your girls were not with you and were obviously somewhere. To me just shows what you've said. They are preoccupied with your bro and just unaware. Not a bad thing, but a truth. A truth that you've accepted, and you live your life with that knowledge. They can visit your girls over the trip time, but I agree it is a huge thing to watch twin toddlers for longer than a day laughing out loud. God bless your in-laws and have a safe and awesome trip. Agree NTA. Also, your in-laws are saints. Looking after the twins for 3 weeks. Agree with the all cap. The difference between 3 hours and 3 weeks with twin toddlers is the distance between the ground to the top of the sky. Her parents have no idea what they're asking for. I have nibblings that are a year apart, and toddlers, while I love them to death, they can be hellhounds. I love that you called them nibblings. Watching my 4-year-old niece and 15-month-old nephew consists of me running around telling him to stop grabbing everything he shouldn't, while my niece is constantly like, look at me. Look at this trick. Let's play this. I love them, but I start to lose my mind after about a couple hours laughing out loud. Yeah, I can't believe anyone would agree to watch twin toddlers for weeks, lol. Love is a hell of a drug. I joking told my mill that we're going to have 6 kids and they can watch them while we go on our trips, and she was like, only 6? LOL. That's adorable. Right? I won't even allow more than 3 kids under the age of 10 in my home unless it's a holiday or special occasion. Only an insane person would agree to this, laughing out loud. Yay, if I look like I'm planning a trip, my mom wants to know if my son is going, and if he's not, we can keep him. She's also talked me into taking weekenders so that she can keep him. To not notice that the twins aren't going just shows they're still not really paying attention. Your mom sounds a lot like my mom and ex-mill. They're so generous with their time. They tell me stay another day, leave the wee man here, he's great company for me, they are saints and I count myself so lucky every day for them. It's wonderful, but I just had my second and she is not a baby person, so it'll probably be a year and a half before I can do anything truly child-free again. She is a saint. She also just misses him because we lived with her for 3 years and she says her house is too quiet without him in it. Our parents are emotional, but to not have noticed for 2 years your girls were not with you and obviously somewhere, to me just shows what you've said. I mean, how would they notice? Most people take their 1-year-olds on family vacations that last weeks. Sister and husband say they are going on their annual vacation. Parents just assume they are bringing their 1-year-olds, as most people I know would. Since they don't visit the in-laws, it's not like they will see they are there. Not unless there is a social media post or someone says something would they realize? And not everyone is a social media person posting their vacation photos. Not everyone checks them, either. This is not to say it's wrong original post goes on these trips, but I also would have assumed her kids came. And I don't think I'm a neglectful parent? The point is they aren't involved in her life. It would have been one conversation to discover the kids weren't there. One scroll through her phone's vacation pics. One supper-time conversation. Just one time talking with their daughters about their daughter's life. But that never happened because they aren't involved. Well said, good points. I mean, how would they notice? By having a relationship with their daughter which involves conversations. Yep. My kid is 14, and my mom knows when she goes on trips with us and when she stays at her dad's. Because we talk. Well, if they talk about the trip afterwards and maybe show pictures, it should be clear pretty quickly that the kids weren't there. So I would assume the parents didn't really ask or listen. If they had a relationship, how would they not notice? Wouldn't they text or send pics or post to social media? I couldn't imagine not texting my mom a pic during a 3-week vacation, same with my in-laws. So this is her main point, that they are too distracted with their brother to be interested. She went on a 3-week vacation with her sister and they didn't ask any questions of either kid? Asked for no pics, no details? Did they not ask to hear about it? Don't they talk? It's not being a neglectful parent since they are adults, but it highlights that they don't have much of a relationship. True, but I think original post said she and her sister went little contact with their parents by the time they went to college because they felt neglected as kids. I guess it's not neglect anymore as adults, but still crafty parenting, especially because your kids don't just stop needing you once they turn 18. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.